Hey guys, this is Justin from Breaking into CRE, and in today's video, I'm going to tell you why the XIRR beats the IRR function in Excel every single time in real estate investing and how you should be using it for your next real estate deal. Now, on this channel, we talk about how to advance your real estate investment career and real estate financial modeling topics. So if you're a real estate professional or looking to break into the industry for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to be notified every time I release a new video. Now, if you're a real estate analyst or have done any sort of real estate financial modeling in the past, you probably know that the IRR is an extremely important return metric when you're analyzing a real estate deal. But what many people don't know is that by using just the simple IRR calculation in Excel, you're probably getting these calculations wrong. So to make our IRR calculation as precise as it can be, what we need to do is use the XIRR function rather than the IRR function in Excel. So what's the difference between the two? How do you use XIRR versus IRR, and what is XIRR actually doing? Well, first, let's define what an IRR or internal rate of return actually is. So the internal rate of return for an investment is defined as the discount rate at which the net present value of all future cash flows is equal to 0. So essentially, you can think of the IRR as an annualized rate of return. So if you achieve a 10% IRR over a 5-year hold period, you can think of that return as roughly a 10% compounded annual return over that time period. Now, obviously, Excel is a really powerful software, and they've built in the IRR function that can calculate the internal rate of return. So since they have that simple internal rate of return function, what's actually wrong with it? Well, the problem with the IRR function, if you just type in cash flows for, say, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5 of that 5-year analysis, is that the IRR calculation is going to assume that you only have one cash flow every single year, and that cash flow is going to occur on the exact same date every single year in even increments. Now, if you've ever owned a real estate deal or invested as a limited partner, you know that this is not the case. If you own a deal outright, you're going to be receiving rent checks every single month. And if you're a limited partner on a deal, you're likely going to be receiving quarterly distribution checks once every 3 months. And since the IRR is a time value of money formula, the timing of your cash flows matters a lot. So especially when you're dealing with shorter hold periods, if you have cash flows that are occurring every month or every quarter, but you're only modeling those out as if they occur once per year, the simple IRR formula is going to end up understating your internal rate of return from what it actually is. So as a solution, Excel has created the XIRR function. And the XIRR function allows you to calculate that internal return based on the specific dates that those cash flows occur. So if you're investing in a deal and you have quarterly distributions being paid out on March 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and December 15th of every year, Excel is going to recognize the timing of those cash flows rather than just assuming that they occur on December 31st of each year. Now, you may not think this is a huge deal just on the surface, but let's actually jump into Excel and see what the difference is between calculating the IRR and the XIRR for a set of cash flows. All right, so now we're in Excel, and what I've done here is I've just put together two sets of cash flows that produce the same amount of cash flows each and every year, except the column to the left, which we're going to calculate with our regular IRR function, is going to only distribute capital once per year at the end of each year. And our second column, or the XIRR column, is going to distribute capital once per quarter. So we're going to have quarterly distributions over here and annual distributions over here, but we're going to have the same exact cash flows every single year. So basically what we have here is a cash outflow or equity investment of $5 million to start. Then in year 1, we have a $400,000 cash inflow. And if we add up everything in year 1 here, we have $400,000, and that continues through year 2, year 3, year 4, and so on. We have equal cash flows throughout. So let's use the simple IRR calculation in order to calculate what the IRR is for our cash flows distributed on an annual basis. So if I type in just equals IRR, that's going to give me the IRR function, which is going to return the internal rate of return for a series of cash flows. Now, all Excel needs is the values here. So my values are just going to be B2 to B7. I'm starting with my acquisition period and moving all the way out to the end of the analysis. Now, if I close my parentheses and hit enter, what you can see is that now I have my internal rate of return of 14.69%. Not too bad, but let's check out what the difference is when we use the XIRR function to show our quarterly distributions. So now if we go into this column right here and we go into our XIRR cell F24, and I set this cell equal to, this time, XIRR, that's going to return the internal rate of return for a schedule of cash flows, so the same exact thing that we just did. So now Excel is going to ask me for my values first. So my values are going to start with my cash flows in my acquisition period. So I'm going to start with F2 and go all the way down to F22 to capture all of my values. And that's going to be all of my cash flows. But now in the XIRR function, Excel asks us for dates as well. And when Excel asks us for dates, what happens is now we can tell Excel when exactly each of these cash flows occur, even if they occur on uneven dates. So I'm going to start this in E2 and go all the way down to E22 because those are all of the corresponding dates with all of our cash flows. Now Excel is going to ask me for a guess. I don't need to add that. I'll close my parentheses and hit enter. And when I do, I get an XIRR value of 15.1%. Now you can see that this is actually a pretty significant difference, especially when you're dealing with waterfall structures where something as small as this, even a 40 basis point swing, could mean a major difference in promoted interest to the sponsor. So this is why using the XIRR is so important, because if you have quarterly distributions but you just model these on an annual basis, the IRR is going to understate your actual internal rate of return versus the XIRR, which is going to take into account the specific dates that you had those cash flows. Now, if you want even more reason to use the XIRR in your real estate investment analysis, I can tell you that every single real estate syndication that I've worked on throughout my career that has referred to an internal rate of return has referred specifically to the XIRR function in Excel because it's just the most precise way of calculating returns. So I hope that was helpful. Make sure you're using the XIRR in the next real estate investment analysis that you do. Now, if you want to learn more about real estate financial modeling and the key skill sets that you need to know in order to land a job at some of the top real estate investment firms, I have a free 3-part real estate financial modeling crash course that's linked in the description below. And in that course, you'll learn the same foundational concepts that I've used to teach over 15,000 students at this point and help them land their dream jobs and do their first real estate deals. Now, if you like this video, let me know by hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with anyone else who might find this helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.